everyone, and welcome to another deep dive into the world of AI. We're hearing more and more about AI prompting and, how it's going to revolutionize everything, but is it really going to be that simple?
That's the big question, isn't it?
And that's exactly what we're tackling today.
Right.
We're diving into issue #63 of Alessandro Perilli's Synthetic Work newsletter, and let me tell you, he doesn't hold back.
He really doesn't. This issue really gets into the nitty-gritty of whether mastering AI is, as easy as everyone's saying, or if we're all headed for a faceplant.
Totally. And he kicks it off with a story that really grabbed me. He talks about this world-class
Oh,
programmer
yeah, I remember that.
who should, in theory, have this whole AI thing down pat, right?
Yeah,
But even this person struggles to make it work.
it's true. And it's a great example of how, even with all the knowledge in the world, there's still this learning curve.
Alessandro actually uses this really interesting analogy in the newsletter. He talks about AI as being like a Hollywood actor.
Okay, I'm intrigued. A Hollywood actor.
Yeah, think about it. You've got these super talented actors,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's say Tom Hanks. You can't just throw Tom Hanks in front of a camera and yell action and expect, instant Oscar-worthy performance.
Right.
You need to give him direction, context, maybe even a few examples to get him going.
I'm with you.
And that's kind of what it's like with AI. You got these incredibly powerful AI models, these large language models, LLMs, he calls them, but they need that guidance, that clear instruction to really shine. And that's where prompt engineering comes in. So prompt engineering, that's our way of directing our Tom Hanks AI, making sure we get the performance we want. So going back to that programmer Alessandro talks about, this person, even though they were like super tech savvy, they just skipped the whole prompt engineering step. Why?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. And it all comes down to this idea of friction, which I thought was brilliant.
Hmm.
Alessandro argues that even when we know what we should be doing, like in this case, using prompt engineering, there's this mental calculation we all make.
Totally.
We weigh the effort of learning something new against the potential payoff. And a lot of times, that effort just feels too high, even for the experts.
Okay, so it's like knowing you should go to the gym, but that comfy couch is just calling your name.
Exactly. And with AI, that friction, that hesitation, it's even more amplified because there's this uncertainty. Will it actually work the way I want it to? Will it really save me time or just create new problems? So you have two people trying the same AI tool.
Right.
One might be blown away and the other walks away thinking, this was more trouble than it's worth.
So if even the experts are hitting this friction wall, shying away from AI, even when they know better, where does that leave everyone else?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
And Alessandro dives into a few possible scenarios in this newsletter.
Okay.
And some are, a little more optimistic than others.
Lay it on me.
So the first one, and this is kind of the worst case scenario, is that this friction, this hesitation, it actually prevents AI from really taking off.
So instead of this grand AI revolution, we end up with a bunch of half-used tools and missed opportunities.
Exactly. Like we might use AI for, very basic things. Summarizing a document, maybe translating a phrase or two.
Right.
But anything that requires a little more finesse, a little more prompting, we just shy away from it. And AI just becomes like, a glorified calculator instead of this transformative force it could be.
Okay, yeah, I get it. That's the kind of AI dystopia nobody wants.
Exactly. But, Alessandro's not all doom and gloom. He offers a few other possibilities in the newsletter.
Okay, good, because I need a little optimism here.
Right. So he has this other idea, and I love this phrase. He calls it the monotask AI world.
Monotask AI. So is that like, instead of having one AI to rule them all, we have an AI for every single job imaginable?
Yes. Precisely. Imagine, specialized AI tools for incredibly specific tasks.
Okay.
Like you need to balance your budget. There's an AI for that. You need to write code in a specific programming language. Boom, there's an AI for that too. No more wrestling with complicated prompts. Each tool is a master of its one job.
I can see the appeal in that, for sure. No learning curve, instant expertise.
That's right.
But wouldn't that create a different kind of problem, though? Like, what if I need something that falls outside of those predefined boxes?
See, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And that leads us to Alessandro's third scenario, and maybe the most intriguing one. He talks about the rise of the AI architect.
AI architect. So are we talking about AI that can design buildings now?
Not quite, although, who knows, maybe someday. But he's talking about something much more interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine someone who acts as this conductor, bringing together all these specialized AIs
Okay.
and making them work together in this seamless, symphony of automation.
So instead of me trying to wrangle 10 different AIs for different parts of a project, this AI architect would do all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. They would know the strengths and limitations of each AI tool and kind of orchestrate them to achieve a larger goal. It's like having, a team of expert chefs,
I like where this is going.
right? Each one specializing in a particular cuisine or technique, and they all come together to create this incredible multi-course meal.
Okay, no, that's an AI future I can get behind. But if we're talking about specialized AIs and then on top of that, AI architects, wouldn't that require like even more technical expertise? That's a really good point. It sounds like we're headed towards like an AI elite, right?
It's a valid concern, for sure. And, Alessandro acknowledges that. But then he goes on to show how this future, the one with all the specialized AIs, it's already happening. And it's not all, just for the tech wizards among us.
Okay, so let's talk more examples. What have you got?
Well, there was one example that really stuck with me. Alessandro talks about Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure.
So apparently he's gone ahead and created a synthetic avatar of himself.
A synthetic avatar, like a
Like a digital twin, basically.
Okay, so he's got this digital twin he sends to meetings in his place or what?
Well, not quite yet, but it's getting close.
Yeah.
Imagine like a digital representation of yourself
Yeah.
that can interact in real time, complete with your, mannerisms, your vocal inflections.
Okay, I gotta say, that's both super cool and a little creepy. But how does this tie back to the whole specialized AI thing?
Right. So building a fully sentient AI replica of a human being, like a true digital twin,
Right.
that's incredibly complex, maybe even impossible with, where we are now. But what if, instead of trying to recreate everything about Reid Hoffman, you just focus on one specific aspect, like let's say his ability to deliver a really engaging presentation.
Okay, so instead of building a robot that can do everything a human can, you build one that's a total pro at just one thing.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of specialized AI. We can break these, really complex tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces. And that's how we make faster progress.
Gotcha. Okay, what other examples did Alessandro have in this issue?
He also mentions this tool called GitHub Copilot Workspace, which is essentially like a super-powered coding assistant.
Okay.
And the idea here isn't to, replace developers entirely.
Right, right.
It's more about, taking away the tedious parts of their jobs, like all that time spent debugging code.
So instead of hunting down missing semicolons, they can actually like focus on the creative problem solving, the stuff humans are good at.
Exactly. And this circles back to what we were saying before about, removing those points of friction.
Mm-hmm.
By taking away the tasks that make us want to pull our hair out, AI can actually help us to be more creative, more productive.
I like that. So it's not about AI versus humans.
Right.
It's about AI helping humans, reach their full potential.
Exactly. Although Alessandro does bring us back down to earth a bit.
How so?
Well, he talks about this article from Wired that was looking into synthetic modeling agencies. And these are agencies that use AI to create those, picture-perfect models we see in ads and stuff.
Oh, wow. So they're just like generating these images of people who don't even exist. That's kind of wild.
It is pretty wild. And Alessandro gets into some of the ethical considerations around that too, which,
Right.
important conversation to have. But what I found interesting is that even in this field, which you think would be like completely automated by now, human involvement is still super important. Like the AI might generate the initial image, but it still takes human experts to go in there, refine it, style it, and really make it, look hyper-realistic.
So we're not quite at the push button, get perfect results stage yet, even with specialized AI.
Exactly. And that's a really key point. Specialized AI, it's powerful,
Yeah.
but it's not magic. It's a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool, it needs to be used effectively and ethically to really make a difference.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, before we wrap up, I remember Alessandro had one more example in the newsletter, something about a novel written with AI.
Oh, right. Yes. American Abductions, I think it was called.
Yeah, that's it.
And the author actually used AI to help him write in the style of a famous surrealist author.
Whoa, hold on. So instead of hiring like a ghostwriter, he's got an AI channeling the spirit of a literary icon.
Basically.
Yeah.
It really shows you the unexpected ways this technology can be used,
Yeah.
right? Like, imagine if aspiring writers could collaborate with AI to, develop their own unique voice.
Yeah, or even musicians, like
Yeah.
composing music with AI in entirely new genres and stuff. The possibilities are kind of endless.
Exactly. And that, I think, is the perfect place to leave this conversation. Alessandro asks this really thought-provoking question at the end of his newsletter. If specialized AIs are the way to go, Shouldn't that be our focus? Instead of, pouring all our resources into building one AI to rule them all, maybe we should be perfecting these smaller, more focused tools that can truly enhance our lives in meaningful ways.
It's a really good question. So I guess what you're saying is forget the AI overlords for now and focus on the AIs that can help us, actually get things done.
Precisely. And not just get things done, but get things done better. And have a little fun along the way.
I like the way you think. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive. As always, thanks to Alessandro Perilli for the fascinating food for thought.
Absolutely.
And to all of you out there, keep those AI dreams big, but maybe those expectations just a tad more realistic. We'll see you in the next one.